For decades, Dubai made the world a promise. Come here, work hard, keep everything you earn. No income tax, sunshine year-round, a salary that stretches further than anywhere back home. For millions from India, the UK, the Philippines, Lebanon, Egypt, and beyond, it was the most compelling offer on the planet. But the promise has a small print problem, and that small print is written in rent. In 2026, renting a one-bedroom apartment in Dubai costs between 70,000 to 110,000 dirham a year, roughly $19,000 to $30,000, just for a single bedroom. A two-bedroom runs between 115,000 to 170,000 dirham annually. A family-sized three-bedroom, as high as 230,000 dirham, over $62,000 a year, just to keep a roof over your head. In a city with no income tax, the government doesn't take your money. The landlord does. Dubai went from the 90th most expensive expat destination in 2013 to 7th for premium real estate today. Thousands of middle-class workers have already left, with 40,000 departing in 2026 so far. Saudi Arabia is actively competing to recruit them. This is the story of how Dubai's housing market overheated, priced out the people who built it, and sparked a quiet exodus that the city's leadership can no longer afford to ignore. To understand what's being lost, you have to understand what Dubai once offered. 50 years ago, Dubai was a small trading port, pearl diving, a modest merchant class. Then oil was discovered and everything changed. But unlike its neighbors, Dubai's leadership made a calculated bet. Oil wouldn't last forever, so they diversified aggressively. Free trade zones, world-class airports, no personal income tax. A city designed to pull in ambitious people from every corner of the world and let them keep what they earned. It worked spectacularly. Expatriates now make up 89% of the UAE's population. Dubai is, in the most literal sense, a city built by and for foreigners. Teachers from the UK, engineers from India, nurses from the Philippines. They all came for the same reason: high salary, no tax. You could save here in ways you simply couldn't back home. But somewhere between the early 2000s and today, someone changed the math. And they didn't tell anyone. The turning point was the pandemic. While most global cities emptied out, Dubai kept its borders open, positioning itself as a tax-free escape from lockdowns. Wealthy individuals from Russia, Europe, India, and China arrived in enormous numbers. They brought capital. They bought property. Demand surged in ways the city had never seen. Since 2022, residential prices are up 60%. Villa prices have risen 206% since the pandemic alone. The UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index placed Dubai among the world's highest overheating risks, alongside Miami and Tokyo. For ordinary renters trying to budget their lives, that kind of relentless growth is not a market trend. It's an emergency. Here is the mechanical heart of the crisis, and it comes down to a brutal mismatch between supply and demand. Dubai's population grew 4.47% year-on-year, reaching 4.03 million residents as of 2025, with roughly 470 new residents arriving every single day. Population growth at that pace requires nearly 300 new homes delivered every day. How many are actually being built? Only around 44,000 units are expected to be delivered in all of 2026. Do the numbers. 300 homes needed daily, 44,000 delivered across the whole year. The gap is enormous and it widens every single month. But it gets worse, because the homes that are being built are not the homes people need. Developers are prioritizing high-density apartment projects that can be built and sold quickly and offer lower entry points for investors. This has created a supply bias away from family-oriented housing. Villas and townhouses now represent 33% of rental transactions, but generate 58% of total rental value, demonstrating how scarcity in larger family homes is pushing rents up faster than the broader market. Apartments account for more than 86% of the construction pipeline, even though families are the very demographic most strained by the housing crisis. And there is one more layer to this problem that rarely gets discussed. A significant portion of Dubai's residential stock isn't occupied by residents at all. Investors buy properties, leave them empty, and wait for capital appreciation. A significant number of properties in Dubai are purchased as secondary homes or investment properties that remain unoccupied, meaning effective supply is materially lower than official figures suggest. You have a city with 470 people arriving every day, developers building the wrong type of housing, investors sitting on empty units, and rents that have been rising for 22 straight quarters. This is not a housing market. This is a pressure cooker. Let's put some concrete numbers on what this means for the people living inside the system. As of early 2026, the average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Dubai sits at around 7,500 dirham, roughly $2,040 a month. That is just for shelter. Add utilities, food, transport, and healthcare, and a single person's monthly expenses in Dubai, excluding rent, average around 4,150 dirham, approximately $1,130 a month. For a family of four, monthly expenses excluding rent come to around 16,600 dirham, nearly $4,500. Private school fees alone range from 12,500 to 150,000 dirham per year, depending on the curriculum and institution, with elite schools exceeding 100,000 dirham per student when all fees are included. A family with two children in mid-range schools is looking at 50,000 to 100,000 dirham in school fees before they've paid a single dirham of rent. Now compare this to the salary side of the equation. Cooper Fitch's UAE salary guide projects that salaries across the UAE will essentially flatline in 2026, with an average increase of 0% despite expected GDP growth. Hallian's 2025 GCC market report found that while 40% of professionals received a salary increase, those raises ranged only from 5% to 10%, nowhere near enough to keep pace with rising housing and education costs. An influx of more than 400,000 expats since the pandemic has made the labor market more competitive, dragging down salaries and benefits even for top jobs. More supply of labor, higher demand for housing. The squeeze comes from both directions. In Dubai, residents now spend around 41% of their monthly income on rent alone. The average Dubai household spends almost half its income on housing. When half your income goes to your landlord before you've bought a single bag of groceries, the dream is over. What remains is just arithmetic survival. Defenders of Dubai's market often point out that it is still cheaper than London or New York, and on a pure per square meter basis, they're right. Singapore's rent prices are about 20.5% higher than Dubai's, and a one-bedroom apartment in central London runs roughly 38% more than a comparable unit in Dubai. But that comparison misses the point entirely, because those cities offer something Dubai does not: a path to belonging. In London, you build equity, you build pension rights, you build citizenship. In New York, after 5 years, you can apply for permanent residency. In Singapore, a structured public housing system called HDB ensures that the majority of citizens, including many permanent residents, have access to affordable homes. In Berlin, robust tenant protection laws cap rent increases and give residents genuine security. Dubai offers none of that. Under UAE federal law, an expatriate can apply for citizenship after residing in the country for not less than 30 years, provided they speak fluent Arabic and have never been convicted of a crime. For most people, that is simply never. You are always a guest. You build no equity in a state. You have no vote. You have no rent board to appeal to. You have no political voice. So the real comparison is not rent in Dubai versus rent in London. It is rent in Dubai with zero security and zero path to belonging versus rent in a city where paying that money builds something permanent. When you frame it that way, Dubai's supposed affordability advantage collapses. When a city prices out its middle class, people don't take to the streets. In Dubai, they can't. There are no unions, no tenant advocacy groups, no political parties. So they do the only thing available to them. They leave, quietly, one family at a time. Already 40,000 expats have left Dubai in 2026 alone, and analysts warn this number will only get worse. Many had secured apartments during pandemic-era price drops in neighborhoods once beyond their means. Now, even those peripheral neighborhoods have become unaffordable as the super-rich continue flooding in and pushing prices outward from the center. Emirati lawyer Habib Al-Mullah, one of the UAE's most prominent legal voices, warned publicly that rising rents and fees are prompting expats to leave, and that it is very difficult to bring them back. His message was blunt. It's not enough to say we are attracting millionaires. We also need to maintain the middle class. The most affected are middle-income workers. Teachers, engineers, and administrative staff earning between $1,500 and $4,000 a month. Many have been forced to send families home, share housing with strangers, or leave Dubai entirely. One analyst put it plainly: deteriorating affordability is a risk for medium-term population growth, A polite way of saying, hollow out your middle class and your city stops functioning. Because a city isn't just its skyline. It's the teacher in your child's classroom, the nurse in your hospital, the engineer on your roads. These people cannot afford 110,000 dirham apartments on 10,000 dirham salaries, and they know it. And they are leaving. Dubai's housing crisis is a story about choices. The choice to build for millionaires instead of the professionals who keep the city running. The choice to welcome capital without asking what it costs the people already here. The skyscrapers will keep rising. The millionaires will keep coming. But the teacher whose rent doubled, the engineer who will never save for a deposit, the family forced to Sharjah, they're all making the same quiet decision, one household at a time. Dubai can attract the world's wealthiest. That's never been in doubt. The question is whether anyone in power notices or cares that everyone else is leaving.